Today I'll be reading a section of The Diary of Maria Dyer Davies, as edited and transcribed by June W. Thornton. In the introduction, June goes on to tell her summary of what she read in the diary, and one of the things that she says is that the diary revealed a fascinating account of antebellum life in Mississippi and Alabama, seen and written through the eyes of a young girl living with her sister and brother-in-law's household. As life moved on, Brother W. William Dent Longstreet played an increasingly important role in her life, as did her friends and kin. In the diary, she identified many of them with special nicknames and affectionate monikers. The journal detailed her life from age 17 through 22. Part of what she talks about in her introduction summary is about how life was during that time. And June W. Thornton says that Maria often sewed, making dresses, nightgowns, undergarments, socks, quilts, and other things in daily life, and often the young ladies, both single and married, would spend the night with each other, especially when husbands were out of town on business trips. Life was not always agreeable, especially during the periods of sickness and death. In hard times, the tight-knit community would coalesce, and friends would sit up with each other in a very caring manner until they got better or died. The doctor and dentist did what they could to help their patients. Even so, the house servants and plantation workers did what they could to make life easier for everyone. Travel by land in those days was by foot, horseback, hacks, traps, carriages, wagons, stages, or railroads, and they traveled the waterways by paddle-wheel steamboats. Maria often focused on the weather conditions in her diary. It played a huge role in traveling comfort. Sometimes they stayed home, or whenever they were due stormy, rainy, or cold weather. Religion played a large part in frontier lives. Maria had a bevy of her favorite itinerant preachers who peddled salvation along back roads of Mississippi and Alabama, but she was highly critical of some whom she viewed as tedious, redundant, and hypocritical. Another part that June describes in her summary is that during times of leisure, she would visit with her many male and female friends in the family parlor discussing current events, perhaps even romance, and would regularly attend marriages and prayer meetings. When apart, communication was by letter, calling cards, or telegraph. Brother William, who was head of the extended family, moved frequently around Noxubee County, Mississippi, as financial needs dictated, and times were difficult in those days. Additionally, they enjoyed a close relationship with near family members and friends. Another thing she says, which is very interesting in this introduction, is she says, in those days, meaning the days that this diary was written in those days, men made all the decisions outside the home, and the women had no part in any affair except with decisions affecting the household. Slaves and house servants had no say at all. Brother W. managed Maria's affairs when she was underage, but she owned property in her own right, inherited from her father. So it's pretty interesting, her introduction summary of what the diary contains. It's about 6 years worth, almost 6 years worth of entries from November 1850 to March 1856. And today I'm going to read you a portion from February. It's the 1st of February, past a painful night and sick all day. Constant pain or aching in my head, backs, and knees. In bed all day, weak and feeling very badly. Fever. It's now Saturday. I felt better but not well. Would like oysters and oranges. So much, no relish for other food. Sitting up. It's Sunday now. Last night it sleeted and snowed in our faces and on the beds. Bitter, bitter weather. God forbid anything being out there in such terrible nights. I have not enjoyed the Sabbaths in this house, though. I feel that I might have done it a little better if for extra comfort, but in the cram and jam I find my Sabbath feelings. Those of peaceful thought and quiet dissipated. Mammy's sick, very bad cold. It's now Monday. Commenced Mammy and Chrissy dress, very cold. Sewed up after supper, and I'm very sorry to say was in a bad humor a while. It's now Tuesday. I felt low-spirited part of the day, knitting and sewing. Bessie sent up for butter. The stove came at last, a new goodie for February. It's now Wednesday. Busy working butter all forenoon. Churned and worked all the butter and made it into cakes for convenience. Then in the kitchen looking at the stove just in operation, windy and rainy. Aunt Mary brought from Mr. Judon's last night. Jimmy Clemens came up shooting, stayed all night. It's now Thursday. Trying to get the clock to run. Greased it and worked it. Didn't run at first, but last night went into ticking as though nothing had happened. Has been good company since. It's now Friday. Sister has a stiff neck, very painful and inconvenient. Yesterday, 7, afternoon, putting in pockets Brother W's pants. Sister was sick, finished after supper. Forgot to mention Jim shooting through the wall. Fortunately, no one hurt. She has been lying down all day. I have not been at much of anything. Skimming milk, cleaning off sewing machine, reading a paper, knitting, rubbing Sister's neck, and cold. My new Harper's Magazine at last. Sister has 2 of goody. It's Saturday now. Cleaning up in the dining room, then finished a little job for Sister Mary Louisa's dress. She kept her bed all day. It's now Sunday. Louisa went to see her mother and Brother W down till noon. I read in Clark, and then had nothing better than my new Harper. Would not have occupied the Sabbath with it if I could have enjoyed the benefit of one more appropriate, but was much interested. Pleasant day, though ground muddy. It's Monday now. Have been reading in Harper again today. Finished my second sock. It fits through the first, does not. The machine is still mocking me with that might do, but don't, and I would be happy to set it to work tomorrow. It's Tuesday now. Had to take out my dress, which I laid by me for the mock to do, and began where I left off with my needle. But the day passed, and I have accomplished little, for budging about so much. It's Wednesday now. Went down and spent the day with Bessie and shopping. Saw a good many persons, Ann and Duckfoot, Miss Mary, Miss Shelton, Dr. S., to dine with her too. Bessie and Miss S. were assisting the girls in making their dresses. We all had the blues when we came home. Sister had been sick and looked to us to cheer her up. We were moody and sullen, and for a while we said little. Washington ran away from the plantation and came back here today. Brother W. wrote a note to Mr. Brown. He came over and carried him home and punished him. I felt unusually excited when they were trying him, and Mr. Brown was so excited and afraid he would nearly kill him. I felt very bad and said things I should not. A beautiful night. It's Thursday now. Was trying all morning to settle some of my trimmings of my sleeves. Finally fixed it. Went to work heartily in the afternoon. These sleeves have annoyed me all a while, playing after supper on piano. It's Friday now. Busy on my dress. Finished it. My black silk. Brother W. brought up the book of instructions for working with the Mac last night. We worked away at it, but it was a no-go. Now it's Saturday. Beautiful day, but very windy tonight. I would feel better if the wind would cease. The weather has been so warm, and this wind seems to turn colder every minute. Willie and Louisa went to see Mrs. Dillard today. The children have been up. I've been busy working with the machine, and I have made to sew last. After being wearied more one over it, I'm tired tonight. We were much gratified to succeed, though some slight alterations must be made before our work is satisfactory. But so much for today, anyhow. We never could get it to make a stitch at all before. It's now Sunday. The servants in to see us gave them a dress apiece. I tried to read, but somehow I've not enjoyed Sabbath since we've moved here. So crammed up. I've had no room to be quiet in. I do so love to read to them, to be still, to think, and have my heart carried upwards and filled with pure thoughts and holier resolutions. It's Monday now. We made an effort to sew a pair of pants for little Anderson on the machine, but it does not work. That is, well and regularly. Rips sooner than it can be put on. I do not like the work at all. Unpleasant feelings by the servants. Toad and Bud spent the day with us. Louisa's sick. We had to see the children. I felt very low, spirited and weary. It's Tuesday now. Dink and Sally Belding came up. A cloudy day. Sally has entertained us well. Dink stayed. Mr. B came for Sally. After supper, put down my carpet in the south room and put up a bedstead. Sister occupies it, and it will have to be a dining room, too, for a while. It's now Wednesday. Have been cleaning up, moving out, round and in. The rooms look better. We have parted with a good many things, and the place is improved, not packed up now. It would be so nice to have a good house and roomy, too good for hope for. It's Thursday now. Finished the pants. We tried to make it on the machine, but the sewing would rip. The wheel moved so irregularly that the stitch was very unequal. We have put it up. A bad day, rainy, foot sale going on. It's Friday now. Felt badly all day, laid down. On Saturday, Bessie Ann and Ann Cockrell came up. Bessie expects to start mobile and NO in 2 weeks. Brother W seems constantly annoyed by the great extravagance going on in everything, and I can but think of it and try to imagine some remedy if possible. But it's a sad picture, and I mourn over what I cannot help. I think Sister tries to do right often when it is not appreciated, though, and it would be better if some things were different. Oh, that the head of the family was consecrated to him, who is able to take care of us and give us better things than the poisonous wealth of earth. He only can remove the gnawing desire for gain and happiness in earthly things, and give us a better, more blessed hope. It's Sunday now, a pleasant day. Reading. Mr. Badger and Mr. Beaucamp walked up after dinner. Anne left me a note of the home circle. I have found it very interesting. It's now Monday. Another spring day. Have been sewing. Read Adam Clark on Daniel's dream, rather his interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. I feel bad tonight, not in body and in mind and heart. We need sunshine, that which comes from soul to soul. I'm willing to give it, but I'm not doing it now. I'm longing for it, but brightness in our home. I'm not feeling right, I fear, and maybe that keeps some sunshine out. Oh, for a loving heart and a humble daily waiting for his spirit. May it repine in my soul, cleanse me from all defilement, and make me strong for my duty. Dink went down to Dyers this morning. Uncle W ate dinner here. It's now Tuesday. Rainy and just the day to read. We had no Harper from Mrs. Davis, and our own not arrived. I was too much interested to lay down my book. We are reading Dickens' last story, Little Dorrit, commenced in January. No Harper. It's Wednesday now, day bright and cheerful, reading some and sewing some. Have gone to work on my worsted dress, green and red, but have been tempted to put it away until next winter. It feels so unseasonable these pleasant days. It's now Thursday, sunny, sewing, rather cutting out my dress and getting ready to sew. Rather late tonight. Brother W came home after 8 and said he had been to a show, a little theater, saw Dink there, but he left soon. It's now the last day of February, the 29th. It's a Friday. Was cutting out Sister's dress, body forenoon, and sewing on my own since. Colonel Dunn sent up to ask me to attend the show tonight. He said concert, but Bro W said it was such a poor affair last night I declined going. I guess it's as well, for it's raining and I might have regretted going. The pattering on the housetop is very lulling sound and makes me feel drowsy, and reminds me of my mother. She always loved to hear it, especially at night. Mr. Beaucamp has bought Mr. Klein's lot and house, nearly opposite us, and expects to move there sometime in the summer. Dink is still at Deese's. That's the end of February. Next time I will read from March for you. Today I'll be reading a section of The Diary of Maria Dyer Davies.